physical side of it too is that it is addictive. I mean, many of us eat sugar in many, many forms. So recognizing that it's one thing to understand the science, but then it's how do we live it? We have sugar from pasta to bread to sugar to cookies to wine to beer. So recognizing where sugar comes from is important.
And for people in advice, how do you get away from sugar? Because I know that I stepped away from sugar for 2 years, and I lose a lot of weight from it. How do you get away from sugar?
I think the biggest thing is to just know where it comes from. I mean, it's to know that you can't just, if you have some granola, for example, for breakfast and think that's healthy for you, recognizing that actually there's a lot of sugar in granola. There's a lot of sugar in pasta. There's a lot of sugar in corn muffins, things that you don't think of sugar, even rice. So I don't think it's impossible to get rid of sugar. Our body actually needs sugar to function, but knowing where it comes from is really important so that you don't think you're consuming something that is healthy for you. Even fruit. I mean, a lot of people go on these paleo diets and they just have fruit, but fruit has an enormous amount of sugar. So I think that's the biggest thing, is to recognize that sugar comes in many different forms. Some are healthier than others, but it's still sugar. And just to be aware of what you're consuming so that you know when you're putting sugar into your body.
God. All means of sugar. Tell me about your company, which is Quintessence. Talk about how do you form that up and what drives you to do that one.
Absolutely. So I founded Quantis 16 years ago, and Quantis actually means a perfectly executed strategy. It's an Old English word that I wanted to develop that for our clients. As a marketing and branding agency, I wanted to work with companies that were focused in healthcare, particularly companies that were focused on prevention rather than sick care management, something that I have seen over the last just 20 years of just being part of the healthcare system and seeing it, is that healthcare was for many years focused on sick care management rather than prevention. So if you got a disease, the pharmaceutical companies profited from giving you money. However, there's not a lot of ways to profit from having you not get sick, to staying healthy. And I wanted to work with the companies that actually wanted to change the conversation of what healthcare meant rather than sick care management to true healthcare. And true healthcare is really prevention. And it means not getting sugar and not having, just many things, prevention, exercise, things that necessarily don't, that are inexpensive. And so what's been wonderful is that over the last 16 years that I've had this company, and is that there have been many, many more companies that are now in the wellness space, in the space of actually prevention, and they're actually profiting from keeping people healthy.
Yes, because during this pandemic, of all the stresses going around and all the craziness going around, health and wellness are very important. I think no one don't understand how health and wellness, especially, is important to some people, especially when this pandemic is going around. With all this craziness, divorce rates are going up. A lot of people are trying to, worry about the stress levels of not only what television says and what everything else says. It brings you a lot of stress in your lifetime. So health and wellness are very important for that.
Absolutely. I mean, there's, one of the things that I'm seeing is there's so much more pressure now on families, on couples, on relationships. And I think the fact that people have to be in this, more enclosed space, they can't go to school because, a lot of school systems are closed. For in-person learning, it's all virtual. Work, there's no separation now between work and home. It's all, a lot of people who are working remotely all have to do at home. So it is creating a lot of stress, and a big, something that I'm a big believer in is in meditation, is finding those times to turn off. I've always believed that, to be a successful business professional, business entrepreneur, to be successful in your profession, you have to you have to know how to turn off. It's just as important as knowing how to turn on. Knowing how to turn off is just as important. So for me, developing a regular meditation practice has been really important to be able to just get centered and get grounded, so that when you do have to address those challenges, you have a lot of equanimity when you do that. It's almost like those challenges when you're centered and grounded, you're like a ninja almost, whereas all of those problems are coming to you a little bit slower, and you can navigate them better. You can attack it better. You have better defenses. It's just like in football. They say, defense wins football games. In our real world, defense wins the game of life too. So, especially with the pandemic, it's been, knowing how to play defense has become very, very important.
Indeed. It's always how to stick and move. Tell me about your time at Forbes. How you got the job in the columnist section of Forbes?
So I have, as a published author with HarperCollins, I got invited to speak at different events. It was part of my book promotion tour to speak on topics related to what I knew about. And I met some editors at Forbes, and I kind of pitched them on what I wanted to talk about and continuing the conversation following the publication of the book. And we agreed on, to write on topics related to work-life balance, which I think is a really important topic, especially now, about how you can be a professional executive, but how do you actually balance that with a personal life? Many of us, as a female, I own 2 businesses. I have my ad agency. I also have an e-commerce company where we sell vitamins and supplements online. But I also, I'm a sister. I'm a daughter, a caretaker. I'm a friend. I have. How do you navigate all of this? And I think a lot of people struggle with that as well, as how to create that balance in managing, the responsibilities of a family. And many people have to be caretakers now for both parents, or they have to be, they have greater responsibilities. So how do you do all that? I think that's a topic that a lot of people they care about, and that's something that I care passionately about, is that balance. And so I wrote a lot about that with Forbes. And I continue to write that as well.
Yes, and you did good columns. Read one of your columns, by the way. How to shift gears between work and life? Some people took their work home with them. How can we all shift that?
So shifting is really important. It's knowing how to turn off, I think, is really important, because many times we get, we have emails coming to us, we have text messages coming to us. Your workday really never stops. But I truly believe that if you really want to be productive, if you want to be creative, I work in as a writer, I work in a creative industry. You have to be creative, and to work in an ad agency, you have to be creative. But that just doesn't come it's not like a robot where it's like you can just be creative on the spot. So knowing how to turn off and knowing how to separate yourself from work can actually give you that space, so that when you then have to go and be creative or have to solve a problem in a unique way, you can do that. And I think, and what I have found is that other than just being a specialist and understanding your industry really well, knowing how to turn off is a really great way for switching gears, is developing practices for yourself so that you can actually turn off. Whether it's to meditate, whether it's to work out, whether it's to turn off your phone for a few hours so that you can focus on other things. I think that's really important.
Yes. Tell me about, because you're a female, tell me about how to overcome criticism in the business world.
There's a lot of times where that criticism will come to you, and the biggest thing that I have learned is not to take it personally, and to learn that people have different personality types from you, and never to take something that people say as a personal statement about who you are. Many times criticism can fall personally, but they don't exactly know how to criticize in an objective way, and try to take actually the value from that criticism and see how you can apply it. So I've learned to, when somebody has criticized our work, maybe they might do it in a personal way, and then just try to take the constructive comments from that, and then take, use that and learn from it and try to address it. But I think that the best thing is not to have a very thick skin. Mm-hmm. Especially in social media now. I mean, criticism can come, in so many ways, especially if you're, any public figure, you post something online and you'll get criticized a lot. And sometimes that's okay. It creates conversation.
Yes, because, man, Jesus Christ, the internet is a very big beast to overcome. Whether you post something or not is a very big beast.
You don't want to be PG, too. You don't want to just say something that is not I've always believed in saying things that it might be somewhat provocative at first, but then let's get the conversation started. And then there's nuance and there's layers of what that says. And some people may just react badly to a headline. But I do think that to be comfortable with criticism actually allows a healthy discussion. Recognizing that the criticism actually can create a really productive and healthy discussion for many people.
Exactly. Is all pronounced how you word it right? Because some people do not word it right, and some people do not read their stuff before they post it, which I'm learning much about. When people post stuff, they don't word their words the way they want to word them. And it's kind of very strange, because the way you said it in your head and you type it, you didn't proofread it, and then you send it out, and then everybody responds differently to the way you wanted it to be anyway.
Right, and you also have to remember that some people just want to post something just to get the likes or the clicks or the comments, because it is, the more provocative it is, the more controversial it is, the more people, it's going to get noticed more. So recognizing there's an element of that, but also this is why a conversation is really important, or a longer form article, is that you actually can have the nuance of the layers of all the different points. It's really hard to connect a message in a Twitter on a 140 character limit tweet. I mean, so having a conversation, having a longer form article, getting deep into something, I think is really important.
Yes, indeed. We are Baltimore Second Live. We are here in our hot seat with our guest, Raquel Baldelomar. If you got any comments or questions to ask her, feel free to ask us. My number is 917-889-8822. Again, that's 917-889-8825. When calling, press 1 to speak to us. I'm now listening to you. We'll be right back with a guest at the hot seat. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Somewhere